But the city council is key. And so anytime that you can be in front of those guys and you've got no kind of leverage, nothing unethical, but you're asking them, what do you truly want to see for this community to help with the city? Another thing that we'll get
So you don't tell them what you want to do. You ask them what.
Yeah, you never tell them that because there's a lot of egos there. A lot of them are really great, but a lot of them, there's either an agenda on why they're there, or they want you to hear what they want. And it's so sometimes you're just like, okay, well let's understand this. And most of it comes back to revenue for the city, and then the direction that the manager is wanting the city to go. So the one that I've got 3 different cities I'm focusing in right now: Pilot Point, Melissa, and then Salina. So those are the 3 that I like. So PIDs, public improvement districts, can ramp up the return on those investments 3x. So I can get the cities to pass on the end taxation to the end buyer, which will increase their tax revenue or their tax by maybe 0.5% over a 10-year run, but it pays for my entire development. So it'll take me about another $500,000 to get the PID approval with all my attorneys, all the drafting, all the back and forth, and then really you got to educate. Actually, we got the first ever PID approved in Melissa, and that was a big deal because they had no idea what it was. So Salina grew their entire city through this PID process. Pilot Point learned, they were educated, and then they bought into it. And then now Melissa has done it as well. It just, because what's happened in the last 2 years with land values in our county that we're at, it's almost made it very difficult to develop and actually make any kind of return. So we actually got to take advantage of the programs that are available and tap into it. So we can take a property and get the majority of the development paid for. And then there's mailbox money on all these developments that happen for 2 and 3 years. Yeah.
PID, PID. Does that stand for?
It's a public improvement district.
Perfect. Thank you.
And that's right outside of Dallas, all those areas?
Mm-hmm.
North of that.
North of Dallas.
Yeah, North Dallas. Collin County is kind of where I like to do the majority of it. There's a lot of things that were in our favor on this piece of land specifically. One of them was a law that passed in Texas that we could opt out of cities if they're inside the ETJ. If we're not getting cooperation with the city, we can opt out and jump into other cities. And so we did that to our advantage.
Public improvement what?
Districts.
Who has the decision to opt out of the city?
You as a landowner. Nobody could control that anymore. So that was
specifically Texas thing, or is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was passed in 22.
Do you know what that's called?
I'll find it for you. There's a, I don't know. I can't remember. I've only done it once, but it was on a specific piece of land that we're about to close, and we could not get any cooperation from McKinney doing what we wanted to do. They wanted me to bring over $4 million worth of water to this property 4 miles away, and it killed the whole deal. So we opted out, jumped right over to Melissa, and they took us in. So
How often does that happen, that it kills the deals like that?
a lot now. So there's, in McKinney specifically, if you'll go research it, and there's 2,600 acres of land that opted out over the last 2 years in this one certain quadrant that McKinney haven't grown out to yet, and they want the land developers to bring that infrastructure in, it just makes it very expensive to operate. And that another reason why the PIDs come into play, because if you can't, you have to be outside city limits in the ETJ to opt out. You can't be inside city limits and opt out. Typically inside the city limits, you've got utility access. So that's why I'm playing into the development field right now. We've got a couple deals that we're working that, and I'll share this with you guys, but I don't like to talk about it too much, but there's these land deals that we've got in Salina that are pushing off $60 million returns. Now they take 7 years to complete these because these are full construction. And we typically will go in with 2 to 3 builders. Here's what's really cool about this. I can find a piece of property.
You're doing the vertical also? And the horizontal, or just the horizontal?
On that one, just the horizontal.
Yeah,
I'm
and
not, yeah, I actually got out of the building space. I think that takes a whole other level of dedication and
To do both.
to set up that. And so if there's builders out there that will pay me for these lots, so I got off track. Let me jump back to the paper lots. So the paper lots, as long as I can get the city to stamp off on my plat and I can deliver a piece of paper that's fully developable to a builder, they'll pay huge money for it because they want stuff right away. Now, if I can turn around and actually take it another step further and get construction docs, which is another $500,000 to $1 million, and run through that whole trap for 6 months at the city, I can spend $1 million and make another $3 to $4 million with 6 months of time. But it's just a process. So it really comes down to you start paying so much money in interest, and so it's all about timing. Where can you make a? These are home run deals. These are my big breadwinners, and I've got stuff that funds the other stuff. You know, my family and all my time. That's rental properties. I got out of the flipping business just because my time was it was very difficult.
Yeah.
And you start figuring out, but you got to start there. I think I started there, and I was super happy to make 20 grand on a deal that I worked for 6 months, and I was like, good gosh, man. So when I started calculating the time, what we ended up doing, we just started keeping those things.
Yeah.
Because once you finish, if you can play the game right and you can be in those things for cash back out, you'd be at $0 in. Rates are not great right now, but always look to refinance down the road. And then take advantage of cost segregations. Cost segregations have been one of the biggest players in our entire portfolio. We actually didn't know about it till about 4 years ago. And we had about $25 million worth of assets because you can backtrack all that stuff. And so on this specific development, I had it spread out over 2 years with about $4 to $5 million of income per year, and I didn't pay anything on that because we went back and cost saved everything that we'd ever bought that we still owned. So I currently hold about 30 properties, and then we're invested in several apartments. I'm not a huge fan of the apartments. I don't see the return as well as it's a great long-term mailbox money, but if you really want to crank it up, either mobile home parks, which are also great cost seg tools, or development. So,
And STRs too.
short-term rentals are good. Again, you've got equity, growth, you've got cash flow. I think I'm just over STRs. I've had enough of them. At one time I had 15 of them, and so whatever you got your focus set on is where your attention and all your. I think that's where the majority of your income comes from. So I kept focusing on these, and so I have several. I have a beach one. I have 3 here still, and that's enough for me. It's enough to get away, do quick little cheap vacations and have fun and have some good cash flow coming in. But I'm trying to leverage up all my cash on these development deals, because typically on a big deal that we're walking into that's 15, 20 million, the more money you put up, the more you're getting back. And so we're leveraging up on these things, but we also have a pool of people that put money into it.
Yeah.
So,
but you didn't start with developments.
I didn't start there. I ended up there, and I'll probably.
And you don't recommend these guys that are just getting into real estate starting with development, right?
Never. No. Figure out. I would buy a couple mobile homes. I would rent them. I'm teaching my son. So my son is 21. Hey, young pup. My son's 21 right now. He's buying his first little piece of land at $70,000. He's buying a barn dough, and then I'm going to help him finish it out on the inside. So he'll be into that thing for about 180. I said, just hang around 2 years, because the growth of DFW pushing out, you'll make 100 grand in the next 2 years. And he said, why 2 years? And I said, well, you guys know. Cap gains, we avoid that, make it your primary, and then we're going to do it again. And then we're going to do it 2 or 3 more times, and then you're going to have a house that's paid for that's worth 700 or 800 grand. He's like, seriously? By the time he's 30. So that's our goal.
Exactly how we started.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everything just continues to compound and grow on each other.
Yep.
Yeah.
So these developments you're doing the vertical, or you're just putting in the utilities and doing the entitlements and then you're selling it off to a.
The majority is all paper. I don't even really ever step on the land. So we've got one that we kind of got, it got too attractive to us to take it paper, and we're actually going to do all the streets and utilities and hand that off. So we're contracted by builders. Here's another beautiful thing. Once you get the connections with the builders and you know who they are, I've got 20 of them on speed dial. I can call them and say, hey, I've got this one coming up in Salina. How many lots do you want? And so I know which builders want to build together. I know it's Highlands wants to build with, Dries, and they don't want to be mixed with DR. So I can partner them. So I've got 300 lots coming. How many do you want? You want 50%? So they'll do 50-50, and then they'll put down 15 to 20% right now. And so I can basically take all that money and fund all my interest.
So just so I'm understanding, are you wholesaling the paper to somebody else and just taking it through entitlement and flipping it, or are you getting through entitlement and then putting all the horizontal in, and then selling it?
So if we go just straight paper, we don't wholesale anything. So we'll just take it directly to the builders, and they'll buy it directly from us.